Hi guys, I'm back again. I'm sorry. Well, the Twitter community asked me about what resources I use, and so I'm here to tell you. So let's start with Italian. It being my first foreign language that I learned to speak fluently, I use mainly Busu. It's perfect. I love it. And this is not sponsored, by the way, but Busu just helped me to fluency. I didn't use anything else. Well, you can use the free version, of course, but in my opinion, the paid version is way better because you have grammar, explanations, and quizzes, and you can actually talk with native speakers on there and they'll just correct your mistakes and it's perfect. So it's not only for Italian, it's also for French, Spanish and Portuguese. For Korean I use these little books. I love them so much. These were basically my Christmas present. I have the whole 6 books, I think. Yeah, and I'm already working on book 4, and this I have no words to explain how perfect this is. Really, I love Talk to Me in Korean. If you're learning Korean, please save yourself some time and just. You don't have to buy the books even. You just can go to their site. It's free. It's completely free. What are you doing? Come on, let's learn Korean. The explanations are just so... You can understand it in 1 second. You don't even have to think about it too much. Like with Unnun, I didn't understand anything when I started Korean. I didn't know what Ika and Unnun were. But it explained this grammatical phenomenon to me quite nicely. I love these books. For me, it's better to write in them. And wait, I'll show you one that I've worked on. I'll show you level 1. So it looks like this. There's always an introduction to the topic, like this. For example, this is Itoku, and then you have the grammatical explanation, and then you have some sentences that show how it's used in practice, and then you have to translate something into Korean or into English and connect 2 parts, and it's just really engaging. I was very addicted to these books when I started, so I'm trying to work on my addiction. But look at this. Again, this is not sponsored, I just love them. It's just so cute. Look at that. Okay, moving on from Korean. Wait, no, actually. This is not the only thing I use for Korean. Well, I used it for a long time, but I use this. It's called Lingo Dear. Again, not sponsored. Anything in this video is not sponsored. Nothing in this video is not sponsored, you know? But Lingo Dear is also a perfect source for grammar. Not for spoken language, because, I don't know, the sentences seem kind of off at times, like with Chinese, but we'll get there. But it explains grammar also very nicely, and you just can practice it. You just say, okay, I just learned the Ika grammar part in this book, so I'm going to practice it on Lingo Dear. And it's also very fun. And moving on to Japanese. So I use Lingo Dear for Japanese also. And for Japanese, I actually used Bonpo, the free version, when it was free. It's also kind of good, but I figured that I just stick with Lingo Dear. because they just updated it or something, because when I started with Lingo Dear, the sentences were kind of off and I didn't get that much insight into the grammatical structures and such, but after I downloaded it again, like after 2 years, it's really cool. For Japanese, I also used a textbook, and well, it's aesthetically pleasing, I can say. I don't know if I have it here, probably not, but it didn't help me at all. Like, I just learned like basic vocabulary that I forgot in a day, and I just didn't understand it. I didn't quite check what was going on there. So Lingo Dear is really cool. And again, stepping onto the first part, after I was done with Lingo Dear grammar, with Japanese grammar, I moved on to Busu, because they also have a Japanese and Chinese course. Well, the problem is that, again, it's for, I don't know if it's established for European speakers, because the grammar was kind of not explained at all. So in A1, level A1, I just had grammatical structures that I haven't seen at all. I have never seen, so I was kind of frightened. But after I just learned the grammatical structures on Lingo Dear, then I could move on to Busu, where they taught me the most essential words and phrases and such. But I already understood the grammar, so it was not difficult for me at all. So that's a combination I really highly recommend. For Chinese, well, Lingo Dear is good for Chinese if you're a complete beginner. Like, if you don't know anything about Chinese, it definitely could suit you. But if you already have some insight into the language, then Lingo Dear, I don't know if it's the right choice for you, because they start off really slowly, like slowly taking you through the essentials of the Chinese language, and it can get boring at times, like really boring. So if you're just learning Chinese but already have some insight into the grammar and into the, well, basically how it works, then I recommend Busu again. Because, yeah, in Busu, there you have like grammatical structures, but Chinese is not so damn complicated like Japanese or Korean, so you just can look it up and it's fine. But for Japanese and Korean, you highly need a good grammar source. A good grammar source. Stepping on to Duolingo. I use Duolingo mainly for the languages that I'm familiar with, or I just kind of do on and off, like Indonesian, Norwegian, Dutch, and Finnish. I didn't say anything. I just use it to kind of relax a bit. Yeah, Duolingo is really fun sometimes. Some courses are meh, like the Greek course, please. No, I'll get there. But the Norwegian course, I was kind of astonished, because I used Duolingo before with like French and Spanish. Spanish was actually good, with French, Greek and Hebrew, yeah. I just completely gave up on Duolingo, but then I just found the Indonesian, Norwegian and Dutch courses, well, yeah. And they're really good. They teach you everything you need to know. Like, they're fantastic if you want to learn these 3 languages. I wouldn't recommend it if you want to learn Greek, because you don't want to say to betaludi trechi, do you? Moving on to Greek. I got these living language books. They're the love of my life. I love them with all my heart. I haven't finished the second book yet, but there is an essential level, then an intermediate and an advanced level. And I have the Hebrew courses also. It's really thick, like look at that. And this is essential. But it looks like this. The chapters are kind of long, but it's fine, it's engaging. And the best or the worst part is that they stopped using the romanization once you're like in the second half of the book, so you just have to learn to read Hebrew. There's no way escaping this. But I figured that it explained grammar very nicely, and sometimes the expressions are kind of old, but it's Greek and Hebrew. Like this was the best source I could find, and you just kind of I love these grammatical overviews. I love these. I'm a sucker for these. Really, okay. And you have, it's basically just for traveling, or like the first book, like the plate, the menu, the appetizer, with some milk, the pork, the meat, you know, just know the train station is nearby, yes I'm American, yes I'm Greek, this kind of stuff. But it's really good. I love them. I know I say this a lot about books, but believe me, I love them. And I don't know if I forgot anything. I think that's all for my resource. I'm dumb. Turkish, I've completely forgotten about Turkish. Sorry. Lütfen. Turkish, let's go back to Turkish. I use Busu again. I don't know. I could just marry Busu. Like, okay, so take a step back. But Turkish, I found that on Busu, again, the vocabulary is perfect. Yes. But again, it doesn't explain the grammar, and I have to have the grammar explained, otherwise I won't do anything. Like, even though I could just kind of navigate through Chinese without the grammar, in Turkish you won't move even a meter without grammar. You just have to understand it, even though it's completely, sometimes it doesn't make sense, because that's Turkish. I love it, but it's hella complicated. Can you stop being so complicated? Okay, back to the topic. So I found a website. It's called Basic Turkish. I'll link it down below. And every grammar structure is explained there. Everything. It was my lifesaver. Really, I hope I helped you a bit, and bye!